Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to Soul Shift Messages. If you found your way here, trust there's something in this message for you. Understand this space is about growth, truth, and transformation. We don't bypass here. We don't sugarcoat here. And not every message will feel comfortable, but it will be honest. I speak in flow, and sometimes that includes cussing. It's just part of how the messages come through. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and trust your own discernment above all else. Give me a second. Rough start, but we're going to recover. But yes, trust your own discernment above all else. Take a deep breath and let's begin. So if you are new here, please know at this time I post weekly content in 3 parts. Part 1 focuses on what needs to be revealed. Part 2 focuses on what needs to be understood, tends to look at the underlying mechanisms at play. And Part 3 focuses on what needs to be done. What changes do we need to make to embody whatever we happen to be discussing that week? And this week, it happens to be internal gridlock, which is when your inner system loses harmony and begins fighting itself. So this is going to be part 3, which means by the time you see this video, I will have all available links to parts 1 and part 2 in the description box below, and I'll go back through the other parts videos and update those links to point to part 3. So no matter where you come in the series, if you're interested in exploring it further, you'll just have all the links to everything that pertains to this topic. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into it. This isn't quite as long a message as the first 2 parts. That being said, it's not exactly short. So again, just to be respectful of everyone's time and just try to balance things out, I am going to focus more on reading the message. So we are diving into some deep topics at this time that really do require me to go a certain breadth and depth on them. So while I don't normally love to be on camera, predominantly reading, we're just going to work that out until until things don't require that level of breadth and depth. I don't know. We'll keep working it out. So I am calling this message, Stop Negotiating Against Yourself and Begin Participating in Life Again. Let me grab some more water. I woke up from a nap an hour ago and I thought my voice was fine, but I hit record and it is scratching all that. Not sure what's up with that, but I ain't tolerating none of that. So, all right. The deepest truth underneath this entire internal gridlock is that your system can no longer survive through constant self-abandonment, emotional overmanagement, and internal division. This is not a phase where you simply need better discipline, more productivity, more patience, more emotional control, more analysis, more self-improvement, or a more correct strategy. The system is exhausted because it has been trying to maintain psychological safety by continuously suppressing, negotiating, monitoring, and fragmenting the self. The solution is not becoming better at self-control. The solution is becoming more internally honest, more integrated, more embodied, and more willing to tolerate reality without immediately trying to control, soften, intellectualize, or morally purify it. The deepest movement trying to happen now is this. You must Stop organizing your entire life around preventing discomfort, disappointment, emotional exposure, instability, conflict, uncertainty, or relational change. Because trying to avoid all forms of pain has slowly created another kind of suffering. And that suffering is self-erasure. Stop treating your feelings like problems to solve. One of the biggest things that must change is your relationship to emotion itself. Right now, emotions are often treated as threats, disruptions, moral questions, things to regulate, things to soften, things to analyze, things to justify, or things that require permission before they are allowed to exist. Your system rarely allows feelings to simply exist, move, unfold, or communicate information naturally. Instead, emotions are intercepted almost immediately by analysis, self-monitoring, caution, fear of consequences, emotional filtering, internal debate, strategic thinking, or concern about how they affect others. This creates chronic emotional interruption. You may intellectually understand your emotions while remaining emotionally disconnected from them. What needs to happen now is emotional allowance. Emotional allowance before emotional interpretation. That means noticing feelings before explaining them, allowing reactions before correcting them, feeling anger before moralizing it, feeling grief before philosophizing it, feeling desire before distrusting it, and feeling exhaustion before overriding it. Not every emotion requires action, explanation, justification, or resolution. Some emotions simply need acknowledgement. You must begin practicing "this is what I feel" without immediately adding, "but maybe I'm overreacting. But maybe it's unfair. But maybe I should suppress it." Or, "but maybe I shouldn't feel this way." Again, practice "this is what I feel" before even adding anything else. Your emotions are information, not crimes, not failures, and not inconveniences. You're allowed to feel how you feel. Acknowledge how you feel. Stop waiting until you feel completely certain. A major part of paralysis comes from believing movement requires total clarity, emotional certainty, perfect alignment, moral reassurance, guaranteed outcomes, or complete internal agreement. But life does not work that way. You are trying to move only once fear, contradiction, ambivalence, uncertainty, and vulnerability disappears. That moment never arrives. I'm hearing that's an illusion. Human beings are contradictory. We absolutely are. You can want freedom and fear change, want intimacy and fear vulnerability, want visibility and fear exposure, want rest and fear stagnation, and want authenticity and fear relational consequences. I'm hearing this is normal. Like this is just normal. Those contradictions do not mean something is wrong. They mean you are human. One of the deepest changes required now is learning to move while uncertainty still exists. You must stop postponing your life until you become fearless, perfectly healed, emotionally pure, fully resolved, completely confident, or psychologically flawless. Babies, all I'm going to say is if you actually achieve this shit, drop it in the comments. Share your secrets, because I don't know if this is actually possible. If you crack some codes, share that shit. Don't be gatekeeping. Sharing is caring. All right? Healing is not the removal of contradiction. Healing is learning how to remain internally connected while contradiction exists. I've said in, I think, a couple of previous videos, two things can be true at the same time. All right, even if they seem opposing, they can both have aspects that are true. It's about being able to recognize the contradiction, understanding there is complexity, and not collapsing under that contradiction and that complexity. Just acknowledging that both are true, can be true at the same time, and hold them both simultaneously. I'm just hearing mastery of the self. For some of you may not recognize, this is actually this is deep, deep energetic work. I'm hearing some people don't ever get this far. All right? Someone needs to hear that. If you're really beating yourself up over this, you're already kind of exploring a level that majority of people will not even bother to face. Be gentle, be kind with yourself. Whenever given the option, be the best friend and the best support you can be to yourself, without hesitation, without fail. All right? Even if you slip, get your ass back in there. Get a new shot at being your own best friend. Take it every time. Stop treating authenticity like a threat. Your system has spent a very long time believing honesty creates danger, authenticity creates instability, emotional visibility creates rejection, boundaries create abandonment, self-prioritization creates guilt, and direct truth creates rupture. Because of this, you may soften your needs, reduce your emotional intensity, hide disappointment, over-explain yourself, negotiate against yourself, stay emotionally manageable, avoid inconvenience, suppress anger, adapt constantly, or remain psychologically hidden. But this adaptation has become psychologically expensive. The truth is, you are no longer exhausted only because life is hard. You are exhausted because maintaining emotional self-suppression requires enormous energy. What needs to happen now is gradual emotional honesty, not emotional explosion, not impulsive destruction. You can honor your feelings and still have autonomy of how that is expressed. I'm not giving you a blank page to go off the rails, balls to the wall, hit everybody with all your thoughts. There is a level of discipline that comes with this. All right, use your discernment. All right. But increasing refusal to abandon yourself in order to preserve comfort, oh, okay, I wrote that interestingly. But yeah, you need to do that. You need to honor how you feel in a healthy manner as you see fit, while again increasingly refusing to abandon yourself in order to preserve comfort, harmony, or emotional manageability. I don't know why, but they're bringing up, if you did not watch it, I'm going to try to remember. I'm going to set the intention I remember to put that link in the description box below. But when I did the codependency series, I realized partway through that series that the actual root cause of codependency is self-abandonment. And so I did some extra videos on self-abandonment, and I did actually cover a video of what needs to be done about self-abandonment. And that is not exclusively tied to codependency. That is self-abandonment itself. So if you are recognizing that you have self-abandonment tendencies, again, there's no blame or shame over here. Once we become aware of things, we become empowered to update that programming. I will link that below in case you're interested in watching that or you feel it would benefit you. So fingers crossed that I remember to do that. But yeah, we're done with self-abandonment. I'm hearing that needs to come to an end. So I'll link that below in case somebody feels called to that. This means saying what you actually mean more often, acknowledging disappointment sooner, expressing needs before resentment accumulates, allowing disagreement, tolerating emotional visibility, becoming more direct, allowing yourself to be misunderstood sometimes, letting people react without immediately managing their emotions for them, and allowing your authentic reactions to exist without immediate self-correction. The goal is not becoming more harsh. I genuinely believe the world is a harsh enough place. It does not need our effort. It has more than it needs already. We don't need to be contributing to that. The goal is becoming real. Stop confusing self-suppression with maturity. A major distortion inside this system is the belief that self-denial equals goodness. You may unconsciously equate emotional containment with strength, self-sacrifice with love, overfunctioning with worth, endurance with morality, emotional invisibility with safety, and usefulness with value. But many of these patterns were survival adaptations, not evidence of your true identity. You learned how to minimize yourself, regulate yourself, carry responsibility, monitor others, suppress disruption, and preserve stability. These abilities are real, but they became overdeveloped. Now your system is trying to correct the imbalance. We do what we need to do to survive the experiences, babies. Again, there's no shame here. We all go through shit in this experience. I don't know anyone who gets out of this experience and goes, I got through that completely unscathed. Like, no. Everyone has things that happened. But I'm hearing you have survived what you went through. You don't need to do this anymore. This really is your invitation to begin doing what needs to be done to put this down. It overdeveloped. It happens to the best of us. I'm not immune from this message. All right? We're just trying to give our system new information so that we can roll back that overdevelopment to something that is more true and authentic and actually serves our greatest and highest good moving forward. Because this, as it is, certainly does not. All right? What needs to happen now is learning that your needs matter before collapse. Your exhaustion matters before burnout. Your limits matter before resentment. Your emotions matter before justification, and your desires matter before permission. You do not need to earn rest, care, support, softness, love, emotional space, or selfhood. You are not valuable only when useful. You're valuable just because you exist. Stop living entirely through the observing mind. One of the deepest problems here is over-identification with observation instead of participation. You have become highly skilled at interpreting yourself, monitoring yourself, analyzing yourself, understanding yourself, preparing yourself, and emotionally managing yourself. But the observing mind has become so dominant that it interrupts direct experience. You are often thinking about life instead of fully inhabiting life. The system continuously asks, what does this mean? What are the consequences? What if this goes wrong? What if I regret this? What if this changes everything? Or what if I become someone else? This constant internal surveillance destroys spontaneity. What needs to happen now is more embodiment and less endless internal interpretation. Means you gotta move from the mind back into the physical body. When we talk about embodiment, be in your body. All right? Act in the way in which you want to. If you are not taking action and correcting things in your experience, you're only doing it in your mind, that doesn't count anymore, babies. I'm hearing clear as day, that is not real change. Because you know what? You can do anything you want in your mind. Some people will spend their entire experience here, mostly in their mind. And that's fine. It's their decision to make. But I'm just hearing, if you don't actually embody it and you don't pull those changes into your actual experience, that's not change. I'm hearing false movement. That is false movement. It's an illusion. Make the changes in your experience. I'm hearing that is the only thing that's going to count moving forward. And that's not to put pressure on you. That's just to make it very clear how it's going to work. So some of you may be like, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, da da da. What action are you actually taking? Right? What are you doing differently? Until you act differently and embody and stay in this body. If you're feeling floaty up here, you are not in your body. You are not. Okay? Okay. That means acting before over-analysis completes, allowing experiences without immediately categorizing them, engaging the body instead of only the mind. Thank you. That download makes more sense now. Say it again. All right. Engaging the body instead of only the mind. Reconnecting with instinct, pleasure, physical life, play, curiosity, movement, and reconnecting with immediacy. You cannot think yourself into aliveness. You must begin participating again. Some of you just need to go have fun. Let a little loose. Some of you genuinely need to go play. How you do that, I don't care. Some of you may want to go to an amusement park. Some of you may want to go to an arcade. I just heard my good sis Mocha Love Tarot say, have a water balloon fight. You know? Jump on the bed. That type of stuff. Some of you just genuinely need to play. Life has been too serious for too long, and I get it. I've been in the same boat. But that is part of your healing, is playing, feeding that side of you again. That side needs nourishment. It's been in deprivation for a very long time. All right? I just heard water guns, Nerf guns. Don't hit people in the face. We're above that now. All right? We were kids. We did stupid shit. Don't be doing that now. Hit them in the chest. Come on. All right. Stop waiting for permission to exist fully. One of the deepest wounds underneath everything is conditional selfhood. Part of you believes you are only allowed to fully exist if you are good enough, careful enough, useful enough, self-controlled enough, aware enough, emotionally managed enough, morally clean enough, and psychologically resolved enough. So your system continuously postpones life. Why? Because who the fuck can actually meet that criteria? I ain't gonna lie, babies, even on my best day, I still don't think I can do that. All of that, like, ooh, no. Ooh, shout out to this curl. Definitely slept on that side during that nap. You may unconsciously believe, once I finally heal enough, then I can live. Once I fully understand myself, then once I fully understand myself, then I can relax. Or once everything becomes safe enough, then I can become myself. But later keeps moving and your authentic life keeps getting deferred. Some of you are unintentionally, I'm hearing, kicking the can down the road. You're not meaning to, but again, this shit's nearly impossible to meet. Like, these are unrealistic standards. And I mean that with love. All right? What needs to happen now is giving yourself permission to exist before perfection arrives. That means allowing unfinishedness, ambiguity, mixed motives, imperfect growth, ordinary humanity, mistakes, contradiction, vulnerability, need, and uncertainty. You do not become whole by eliminating all contradiction. You become whole by no longer dividing against yourself because contradiction exists. Say it again, because this is how the internal gridlock got put into place. You do not become whole by eliminating all contradiction. You become whole by no longer dividing against yourself because contradiction exists. Contradiction will always be present here. It's how you stay internally connected to yourself while it exists. Some of you need to think of this like a rod, right? Really what we're trying to do is become solid within ourselves so that when these contradictions come up, we don't split and fragment ourselves to try to handle it, right? You stay internally connected at your core while this happens. For a lot of you, again, I'm hearing this is more advanced than some of you recognize. And it's not to say that you can't do it or you shouldn't, but this is more advanced energetic work. All right? But I'm hearing if you've made it this far in this series, you were meant to. So now is not the time to stop. I've got to stop paying attention to that curl. It's going to bug the shit out of me. All right. Learn to tolerate emotional consequences instead of preventing them. A huge amount of your psychological energy goes toward preventing disappointment, rupture, instability, conflict, emotional reactions, discomfort, unpredictability, and preventing change. But trying to prevent all emotional pain has created chronic paralysis. The deeper healing now requires recognizing you cannot build a real life while avoiding all emotional consequences. Say it again. The deeper healing now requires recognizing you cannot build a real life while avoiding all emotional consequences. Sometimes honesty changes relationships. Boundaries disappoint people. Authenticity creates tension. Growth creates distance. Change creates grief, and self-definition alters dynamics. That does not automatically mean you are wrong. Your system must learn emotional discomfort is survivable. Conflict is survivable. Disappointment is survivable. Misunderstanding is survivable. Change is survivable. And ambivalence is survivable. I'm hearing what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's YouTube. Maybe I should say what doesn't end you makes you stronger. I don't know. There's some weird language things with this platform. You no longer need to organize your entire identity around preventing emotional disturbance. Sorry, I'm hearing Ludacris say disturbing the peace. Some of you are actually here to actually disturb the peace a little bit because these dynamics that you're in have been unfair for too long. And you're waiting for someone else to do it, but it's you, baby shakes. Sometimes it really do be like that. Because you know what? When people are benefiting from the way things are right now, they're not gonna. I'm just hearing you save everyone else. And your experience has been showing you time and time again, no one is going to save you. So the question becomes, are you going to be willing to save yourself? I'm hearing work on that savior complex. Focus that energy toward the person who deserves it the most. And that's you. Okay? Listen, been there, done that. There's no t-shirt. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want it anyway. So stop turning desire into something dangerous. There is deep fear around wanting, longing, needing, hoping, expanding, taking up space, being visible, being powerful, being deeply known, and fully participating in life. Part of your system distrusts intensity itself. You may unconsciously believe desire creates danger. Wanting creates vulnerability. Ambition creates corruption. Visibility creates attack. Pleasure creates weakness. And dependency creates humiliation. So the psyche fragments desire before it fully forms. This is why momentum collapses, enthusiasm disappears, goals get abandoned, possibilities remain fantasies, and action becomes interrupted. What needs to happen now is reconnecting desire with safety instead of shame. Say it again. What needs to happen now is reconnecting desire with safety instead of shame. Desire is not evidence of moral failure. Need is not corruption. And wanting more from life is not selfishness. You are allowed to want intimacy, beauty, recognition, rest, joy, meaning, visibility, reciprocity, emotional fulfillment, and a life that feels alive. The goal is not becoming consumed by desire. The goal is no longer fearing your own aliveness. Stop using endless analysis to avoid grief. A major hidden layer underneath the gridlock is grief. Grief for lost time. Listen, we're getting this message out one way or another. Shit ain't gonna stop me. Too stubborn for that. All right. Grief for lost time. Postponed selfhood. Emotional loneliness. Exhaustion. Unmet needs. Self-abandonment. Relationships built around adaptation. Unlived versions of yourself and years spent surviving instead of living. The mind keeps trying to solve, interpret, optimize, understand, and perfect what grief simply needs to feel. Analysis has become a way of delaying emotional contact. But grief cannot be solved intellectually. It must be experienced emotionally. This means allowing sadness without fixing it, mourning without rushing resolution, disappointment without immediate reframing, and emotional truth without immediate transcendence. Some pain is not asking to be eliminated. It is asking to be acknowledged. Give yourself permission to acknowledge it and feel it. Let it go. It's been held in your system for long enough. Make room for the beautiful things that so desperately want to replace it. Stop building relationships around emotional performance. One of the deepest relational wounds here is the fear that love must be earned through usefulness, stability, emotional management, self-sacrifice, competence, emotional containment, endurance, and adaptability. This creates relationships where people know your functional self, your capable self, your supportive self, and your emotionally manageable self more than your vulnerable self, your needy self, your exhausted self, your grieving self, your angry self, and your fully authentic self. This creates hidden loneliness. What needs to happen now is learning to build relationships where authenticity does not threaten belonging. Needs can exist openly. Care flows both directions. Emotional reciprocity exists. Support is received instead of only given. Honesty is tolerated. Boundaries are survivable. And connection no longer requires self-erasure. This also means recognizing some relationships may only function when you suppress yourself. That truth may be painful, but it is important. I'm hearing not everything is meant to survive this phase of your journey. But I'm also hearing you already know that. What you do with that is going to be up to you. Stop measuring your worth through endurance. Your system appears deeply attached to struggle, deprivation, carrying burdens, emotional labor, pushing through, surviving without help, and proving value through resilience. You may unconsciously trust suffering more than nourishment. Say it again. It is a little fucked up. You guys are right. That was my guides. That's not geared toward you. Although you may resonate with that. You may unconsciously trust suffering more than nourishment. Again, that's unconscious. You may not knowingly know you do this. We are bringing it into the conscious mind so that shit cannot run on autopilot. Let's reconcile that, because that's a no for me. That's an absolute no for me. We're picking nourishment. Sick of suffering. Ugh. Part of you may believe rest must be earned. Support creates weakness. Needing others creates danger. Receiving creates guilt, and softness creates vulnerability. This has created profound nervous system exhaustion. What needs to happen now is learning that nourishment is not a threat. I'm hearing it never was. You are allowed rest before collapse, support before desperation, pleasure without guilt, softness without shame, joy without justification, and care without earning it first. Your value does not increase through suffering. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I just heard it's not a badge of honor either. Someone's got some fed up ancestors because I heard put that shit down. We didn't even want to carry it when we had to. And you have the option to put it down. Again, their guidance to you is put that shit down. I heard, and don't pick it back up. All right. Accept that the old identity is ending. One of the deepest realities here is an old survival-based identity structure is beginning to collapse. And I'm hearing let it. That's what your ancestors mean. Put this shit down. This identity is built around adaptation, vigilance, emotional management, usefulness, containment, endurance, self-sacrifice, control, invisibility, and emotional over-responsibility. Part of you already knows you cannot continue living entirely this way. It is unsustainable to the nth degree. The paralysis itself may partially exist because the psyche no longer wants to continue the old structure. At the same time, it fears what comes after it. This is why the experience feels destabilizing, painful, transformative, emotionally charged, grief-filled, and unavoidable at the same time. You are not losing old coping mechanisms. You are losing an identity organized around survival. And I'm hearing it's old, it is outdated, it is overdeveloped, and it is no longer useful. They want you to recognize that and acknowledge that. And part of the grief comes from not fully knowing who you are without the survival role. I'm hearing put it down anyway. It's time to explore, babies. It's time to reconnect with who you really are beyond this. You were never meant to spend your whole life surviving. The ancestors really want us to thrive. They want us to thrive in ways they were not able to. Some of you don't know this, but our ancestors do genuinely live vicariously through us. Like our joy, our happiness, us really acting in our truth, using our gifts, genuinely fills them with joy. It actually helps heal them. I don't know who needs to hear that, but our ancestors, the ones who are aligned with your greatest and highest good, they do. They genuinely want us to live better lives than they did. And that's part of the reason why they're supporting you with this, because they want you to get there. They know you're supposed to get there, but you have to give yourself permission to take that step. What healing actually requires. Healing is not becoming emotionally perfect, eliminating contradiction, transcending human need, becoming endlessly disciplined, suppressing desire, becoming unvulnerable, or achieving complete certainty. Healing requires internal cooperation instead of internal war. Emotional honesty instead of chronic self-editing. Embodiment instead of endless abstraction. Participation instead of observation. Self-acceptance instead of self-negotiation. Boundaries instead of self-erasure. Grief instead of emotional bypassing. Integration instead of fragmentation. Movement before certainty, and authenticity before perfect safety. Most importantly, you must stop treating your own humanity like something dangerous. Because the deepest truth underneath the entire gridlock is this: you were never meant to spend your entire life managing yourself into emotional invisibility just to preserve attachment, stability, usefulness, or safety. A deeper part of you no longer wants mere survival. It wants emotional truth, emotional aliveness, embodiment, rest, authenticity, reciprocity, direct participation in life, real connection, creative freedom, emotional honesty, and a life that no longer requires abandoning yourself in order to keep it functioning. I'm going to end it with something I mentioned in the first video. I was asked to revisit it in this video because I heard it's just as relevant. So short story, I used to work in theater. I used to work at the Goodspeed Opera House for a number of years. And one of the shows that came through there was called MAME. You don't need to know too much about it for this to make sense, but there was a line in that play that always stuck with me, and they want me to leave you with this. And it's, life is a banquet, and most poor sons of bitches are starving to death. All right? And the more you really start looking around, the more it truly becomes apparent that is the case. But they wanted me to bring that up because they want you to know you weren't put here for that. And you don't have to stay in that mindset. Life is a banquet. Eat. Enjoy the fullness of this experience. All right? You are not put here to suffer. You were not put here to basically shrink yourself into invisibility in your own experience. Be here, babies. Take up space. Take all that this experience has to offer you. Live it to the fullest. You deserve nothing less. We don't need to be perfect to receive good things. We don't. If that was a criteria, this would be a miserable fucking place. It really would. Wake up, make the best decisions you can based on the information you have, and just strive to be even just a little bit better than you were the next day. the day before. All right? You can do this, babies. I believe in you. I know you can do it. You just got to believe in yourself. So I'm going to leave that there. This is part 3 of this series. So again, all the links to all this week's content will be updated and available. And if you are interested, the next topic I'm going to cover is the abandonment wound. And I'm not going to lie, that one's a beast. I'm excited to be covering it because it really does need to be addressed. I actually could easily argue that's a universal wound. If you are here, to some extent, you have that wound playing out in your experience. And the impact it can have on your experience is quite profound. I'm hearing if me saying the abandonment wound is feeling like a gut punch to you, like someone's punching you in the gut energetically. There's messages in that series for you. What they are, I don't know yet. I haven't tapped into that yet, but I know it's gonna be another deep one. But I'm hearing it's beyond necessary that we go there, even if it's uncomfortable. So again, as I like to say, honor your pace, do what feels right. I don't delete content. So if you're not ready right now and you need some more time, that's totally fine. If you do feel ready for it, check back in on Sunday. Either way, take care of yourselves, beautiful beings. Until next time, bye.